welcome to a new episode of Hallmark Heartbeats, a podcast all about Hallmark movies. And today I am joined by the author of South Beach Love, Miss Caridad Pineiro. Did I say that right? Pineiro?
You did. You said it perfectly.
I know I took Spanish for like 10 years, except I kind of have forgotten most of it. So I read the book and it took me like less than 24 hours from the moment that I bought it to the moment I finished. I couldn't stop reading it. And your characters was so hilarious, especially the girls.
I love the girls. I love the girls in the story. They were one of my favorite parts of the whole book.
Oh, yes. And I'm just hoping that the movie totally keeps that, part, keeps their like sass in, smart alecky and conniving sort of thing.
I do too, because they were such a fun part, and really, the story is about so many different things. It's about Sarah and Tony falling in love. It's about this big party and the girls going from being girls in that tradition to being women. And I think that you see the growth in the girls from when they first start off and they're so snarky with each other and everything. And then all of a sudden, little by little, they start becoming friends. And then I'm not going to spoil it for people, but it was, for me, like it just reflected that they were becoming young women because they were understanding more about what was important, family and friendship and all of those other things. And their moms too, they had once been friends and had kind of lost their way, and now they're back to being friends. Yeah.
I definitely have a feeling that this movie, by the end of it, everyone's going to talk about the girls. But I mean, right now, everyone's hyped up about Tony and Samantha, specifically about William Levy.
Oh my gosh. I always knew, he was popular, and, I knew him from some telenovelas, and obviously I think from Dancing with the Stars, I think is where most people might have known him that aren't, most people that aren't Latino. Yeah. But oh my God, I have been bombarded with emails from his fan clubs from all over the world, Russia, Paraguay, Brazil, all over. It's amazing what a following he has.
My Instagram page went from like 300 followers to like 500 in 2 days, in like 1 day, thanks to posting a picture of him. And I'm like, what did I do? It's so hilarious.
No, it is. It's hilarious. Like I said, every day I've got multiple, messages and things coming in from all of his fan people, which is fabulous. A lot of them are asking whether or not the movie's going to be subtitled in Spanish, and I don't know. I've asked to see that, which I thought would be a great opportunity for Hallmark, to get that kind of viewership in as well, with movies like that.
I know they at least put out their preview for the movie in Spanish, which I think it was the first time ever that I've seen Hallmark do that. So
I didn't see the Spanish language one. I saw one. In fact, I'm putting one up tomorrow, where they do have subtitles in Spanish. So I think if they are going to do the movie like that for people who want it, I think that's exciting.
Yeah, they're trying to be inclusive, which was something that Hallmark has done in the past.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you, they were very receptive when we pitched it, even before some of the upset happened with some of the ads and things like that. I mean, they were actively seeking diverse stories, which I applaud them for. They have been so welcoming and supportive in, taking the story that, I think a lot of times, so in Hollywood, you'll see, something that happens to have Latino characters, whether they're white, brown, black, whatever, because, we're a whole mix of races, really.
Right.
But this is a story that doesn't just have Latino characters. It's a story that shows our culture, at least one aspect of our culture.
Immersion immersed in the Hispanic culture, particularly Cuban culture.
Yeah, particularly. Well, I'm Cuban, so that's what I'm most familiar with. Although I've also had a lot of experience with Mexico, because of when I used to be an attorney, I had to visit there regularly for all kinds of business meetings. But I think it's great that maybe people will get a feel for this other culture. Obviously, the food. Everybody's been complaining that I made them hungry.
I'm hungry. I want some. The deviled ham sounded good too, and then like all the food that they had and the stuff. I can't even say the names of most of the food that was in the dishes, but I was hungry reading it.
Yeah, I actually on my website, if people want to try out some of the recipes, if they visit the South Beach Love page, there's a whole list of different recipes.
Yes.
If they
it's also in the back of the book. I see some recipes in the back of the book, right?
Yeah, they have a recipe for I think it's a banana coconut tres leches cake. But then I have all, a lot of the other recipes there. And I just posted on TikTok on how to make the deviled ham sandwiches. They're very easy, but they're like a party staple. Our family we could never have a party without having the deviled ham sandwiches.
Yeah. So when did you start writing? Like, how did you get that started?
I had a teacher in the 5th grade who made us, she said, in order to get out of my class, you have to write a 20-page typed book. It could be on anything you want. It was pass fail. But then for the last month of class, the books were going to go into a class lending library. So I'd always had lots of stories going on in my head, and I was an avid reader. I'm probably like you were the same thing. I would read anything, like the cereal box in the morning because I had to be reading. And so I went home and I started writing like that day. And my poor mom had to help me. It was 120 typed pages.
Wow.
Yeah, my mother
typed 125 pages.
Typed in the 5th grade. And
what was it about? Do you remember?
I do. In fact, it was like the movie Lost. These people are on a plane and the plane crashes and there's romance and there's something going on in the jungle. And I always wondered, like, where did they get that idea? But but it was, the class enjoyed it. It was always being checked out, I think probably because there was a kiss in it in 5th grade. That was a big thing, there was a kiss in it. And I didn't realize then that it was a romance. That's what I just, naturally gravitated towards. And then I kept on writing through high school and college and law school. And then after my daughter was born, I decided that it was time that I actually follow that passion somehow, that for too many years it had been on a back burner. And I wanted to show her that you could reach for your dreams no matter what. And so I actively started not only writing for the sake of writing, but writing to get published. And it took a number of years, but then I finally sold the book, and my first book came out in 1999.
What was it called?
The first one was called Now and Always. And it was actually for the country's first Latino romance line. Wow. And unfortunately, the line folded within about 2 years. But then after that, I signed deals with Harlequin. And Harlequin was also, you don't think about them that way. They were so receptive. So many of my books had diverse characters in one way or another. And, they always just said, this isn't a book. And they put it out there to all of their readers. It's a good book, and so I'm very grateful to them because really, working with them improved my skills and let me, kind of become known to people for what I was doing, which is exciting.
How many books have you written in total?
I lost track, somewhere between 50 and 60 right now with novellas and things. And so it's a lot. And I have a whole bunch of other ones coming out in the next year or two. And, it's fun. I love writing. So I'm glad that I'm able to do it and hopefully, and share it with people and have them enjoy it, hopefully.
I've always been told that I should write my own story, my own autobiography. Mostly because my life is like very dramatic.
Okay.
It was more but I like to write poetry more than I do like writing books and stuff.
Yeah.
I've always written poetry.
Yeah, well, I love poetry. I belong to a couple of different writing groups, and one of them has quite a number of poets and memoirists. So I would tell you, go for it. Don't if you want to try it, give it a shot.
Who were some authors that you were fans of when you were younger?
Um, well, when I was younger, I would really pick up whatever my mom had, because you think about it, I'm a little bit older. There really wasn't young adult fiction back then. You went straight into adult fiction. So
Yeah.
at 12 or 13, I was reading some very adult books. And back then I would read like Taylor Caldwell. Um, who else? So Sidney Sheldon, that was age of glamour, movies. The Other Side of Midnight, a lot of those shows that eventually, books that eventually became movies. But then as I got a little bit older, I was actually working, this is in the old days, a bookstore and a department store, where all of a sudden there was this one book that was constantly out of stock. And as soon as we got stock, we put it back up on the shelf, it would be sold out. And I said, oh, what's with this book? Why is everybody so crazy about this book? And it was Shayna by Kathleen Woodiwiss. And, had this bright pink cover, with the clinch, you know what I'm talking about. And I was like, okay, let me get this. I really didn't know what to expect. And then I read it, I loved it. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is what I want to write. And so then I started reading a lot of, the historical authors who were very popular at the time, Beatrice Small. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. Joanna Lindsay, a lot of those. And then, by now my tastes have kind of, changed. I'm not so much into historical romance. I'm more into contemporaries and suspense, which is what I write. I just love to read. I'm still a pretty avid reader when I can find the time.
I like historical fiction. My favorite was Philippa Gregory. So
Yes.
I read the other Boleyn, the Spanish Princess, and several of her books. So yeah, I was an avid reader. I have like 2 bookshelves.
Yeah.
Still am an avid reader. But right now I'm currently reading a lot of young adult fantasy books. So even though I'm like in my 30s, I don't think you're too old for those things.
Yeah, no, not at all. Some of them are great stories, regardless of the age.
Yeah.
I have a tendency, like I said, I lean more towards contemporaries and suspense, and I enjoy reading them.
So what was your inspiration for South Beach Love? What made you even get to starting to write that one?
My agent and I had been chatting about what I should work on. She's great. We always talk about like, what are you doing? What do you want to do? And we knew that Hallmark was opening, or had recently opened their publishing line. And, I loved watching the channel. They're such feel-good movies. And I thought, why not feel-good romances like that? I had done a series. I live on the Jersey Shore, so I had done a series called At the Shore, which was 3 books revolving around women in their late 20-somethings as their lives change. That was the first one was One Summer Night, which was actually a Publishers Weekly top 10 fall romance. And I thought, well, this is great. I'm giving everybody a taste of the Jersey Shore, but after doing 3 books with that taste, I wanted to do something different. And I thought, well, Hallmark, they're looking for different things. And I have wanted to do a story set back in Miami. I had done a number of them earlier in my career. And I thought, but what could make it different? Like, I see that their movies, a lot of their movies are about families and friends and things like that. And I thought, um, what can I create that's going to be different, that's going to show my culture, that's going to be unique. So I love to cook. So the cooking was there in the mix because I love doing books with chefs. But then the idea of incorporating the quinces tradition came in because it is something very different, very Latin. A number of cultures, do it. It's not just a Cuban thing. It's very big in Mexico and South America. So I thought that would be a fun thing to show people because I didn't have a quinces, but my daughter really wanted one and I wanted her to have one. And when we did it, people didn't really know anything about the tradition. And so they were so like, wow, this is so much fun and it's so beautiful. All the little steps that you take. As the young girl comes into the room, there's all kinds of little rituals that show that change from child to woman. And so I thought, well, it'll be fun to have that in the story. But I also wanted it to be, like you said, humorous. And so the idea of the two girls, kind of being in this battle and everything just kind of came about. And the next thing I knew, there was this whole story about their tradition and the families and the friendships. And of course, the romance between Tony and Sarah, which, obviously is the main part of the story. But is influenced by so many other things in the story.
Yeah, I loved learning about the whole quinceañera traditions. Can you expand on that for some of our listeners? Like
sure. Well, the idea is that at 15, a girl becomes a woman in Latin. A Latin culture. And so the quinces tradition, it's not quite like a wedding, but it's similar in that the girl comes in and she has her partner who escorts her in. Usually, a lot of times it's a family member, but it can be like, a beau, or, a good male friend. And then she also has a court, which consists of, however many boys and girls who she knows who come in with her. But what happens is that there's all little steps. So for example, as she comes in, and there's also a religious aspect, which we didn't do so much, but a lot of times you also will go to mass in the morning and everything. But what happens is as the girl comes in, she comes in and she's usually wearing shoes that are children's shoes. But then as she comes in, she's greeted by her father. And she takes off the kids' shoes and she puts on heels. And that's the first little thing. And then she'll do a dance with, before the dance, what happens is she also comes in with a little toy. And these are all, the baby, not the baby shoes, but the young kids' shoes and the toy are all signs of childhood. So she'll change her shoes and she'll also give away the toy to someone who's younger. And it's showing that she's putting on the things of adulthood and giving away the things of childhood. And traditionally, she would do a dance with her father for the start of that. And then after that, the women in the young girl's life, the grandma, the abuela, if she's there, the mother, a godmother, sisters, whatever, that are older, would then gift the young lady with the things that she would need as a woman. So she'll get a bracelet and earrings and necklaces, a ring, all kinds of gifts to show her that she's now a woman. So it really is a very beautiful kind of, rite of passage to show that the young lady is now ready to enter the world of being an adult.
I don't want to tease too much, but one of my favorite parts in the book was when the girls had on cleats for the kids' shoes. And the families were like, does that mean that they're going to give up soccer? And they're like, no, it's not.
No, I thought that was so cute because they are, on the team and that's all plays a little part of it. So I thought, what better thing that they have them come in their cleats?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't make sense for them to just wear little kid sandals or anything like that.
Right.
So there are no personality in there.
Yeah, I think it showed some of their spunk. Yeah, that they were those,
You guys, like seriously, read the book. If you guys have, if you would read the book and watch the movie, because I haven't seen the movie yet, but I'm
I
excited.
haven't either. I'm like terrified of what it's going to
How
be like.
involved were you in making the movie?
Not at all. I did get a call from the director, literally a day or two before they started filming. He wanted to talk to me, to find out what I thought were the most important elements of the book, the things that I wanted to get across. And he was very, very nice. We chatted for a while about what I thought was important in the book. And in my case, it was, the sacrifice of the family and friends getting together so that Tony and Sarah could get together.
Yeah.
So we had this long discussion about that. And he did warn me they made some changes. But then we got to go to the set. My husband, daughter, myself, my agent, we flew down to St. Petersburg, Tampa area, to watch them film, which was, really interesting. So we actually ended up watching them film the opening scenes of the movie and the closing scenes of the movie. Right. It turned out, and it's really kind of interesting because they film things out of sequence. If they have certain actors that are there for the scene, if there's 2 or 3 scenes, even though they're not chronological order, they will film all those scenes. And they do this thing, they give you a call sheet. It is what they name it, and it tells everybody who's supposed to be on the set at one time and where they're filming and all of these things. So it was really interesting to see the whole process of it, and to get to meet William Levy. Did you make
a cameo at least in the movie?
What? Excuse me?
Did you make a cameo at least in the movie?
No cameo. I was so bummed. I'm never going to get to do a cameo.
You should have said to them, like, can I at least be a guest at the quinceanera?
Right. Yeah, no, but I got to meet him at the one set. And then afterwards, I had been in correspondence with some of the women who were playing the moms and the teens, and Taylor Cole, who plays Sarah. And actually, we were filming. We were watching them film, but it was getting very late, and we had a flight the next day, so we went back to the hotel. And they were texting me like, "No, come back! We want to meet you." And so we did. We hopped back into the car. It's like almost midnight, and went back to where they were filming. And they were all so sweet. We took pictures together. They actually, some of them had the book and they asked me to sign it. It was funny because I was fangirling about them, then they were fangirling about me, which I didn't expect,
Oh,
yeah. So they were just absolutely so sweet. I can't say enough about how wonderful and welcoming they were.
Before the casting was announced, who did you want to play Samantha and Tony?
I'll be honest with you. Off and on, I had said William Levy for Tony, because I thought he would have been a good fix. He was about the right age. He's really handsome.
Yeah, he's very handsome.
Very handsome, very sexy. And really for Sarah, I really didn't have an idea of who. I always kind of saw her like a Jennifer Garner kind of girl. Yeah. A very down to earth, pretty, beautiful, but not with airs, a very she could be the small town girl next door. And I think
pretty much like Taylor Cole.
She was a perfect cast for it. She's so pretty and so friendly. And yeah, she was really a great choice. And I know she's really popular with the Hallmark crowd. I think she's been in at least a dozen or more of their movies. Yes. So I'm excited to have somebody with that kind of reputation on the female side. And of course, William Levy, like I said, he just has a legion of fans all over the place. So yeah,
I'm getting messages asking me, how do I watch this? And Russia, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, because I know that like to watch Hallmark live, you need to put a cable provider
Mm,
information. I do know that sometimes they release the movies as DVDs. If you go
mhm.
on the retailing sites, they
Yeah.
do have some of them, and they do have a subscription service. But if you only want to watch the one movie, but they do have a monthly subscription service. But I don't know how long it takes for the movie to go from having aired to going on the subscription service.
Well, I do know that what's that called? The DVDs usually take about a year to go out.
Okay,
Some of them maybe shorter, depending on the time, depending on how popular the movie is.
right.
But usually it takes like for example, some of the Christmas movies from 2020 is now just being released on DVD now. So
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, I am so excited for this movie. I'm excited for you. What other books do you have like that is coming out? I see Trapping a Terrorist behind you. Is
Yeah,
that a new
Trapping a
one?
Terrace. Yeah, I wear multiple hats. So we did pitch a Christmas movie to Hallmark, and I'm going to be
Oh, you pitched a Christmas movie
we
too?
did. I don't remember what it's about now. This is terrible. I have so many things going on through my brain, but I'm also writing the proposal for. I had really envisioned the South Beach Love to be 3 books. The first one with Tony and Sarah, the second one with Jerry and Rick, and the last one with Bridget and Javi.
Oh,
So I'm hoping that they'll take the rest of the books in the series, because I think people have enjoyed the characters and they've met them, and especially I love Jerry and Rick. You could
yeah.
see that was going to be,
I
the
feel like
coming.
she has a unique storyline because for those who haven't read the book, it seems like she was an abuse victim. I don't know whether physical abuse or mental
Well,
or emotional.
Bridget definitely had, an issue of I wouldn't call it abuse, but being put down by her husband. But for Jerry, really, it was a case of her husband just up and leaving her to deal with everything. And basically, the premise for that second book is that he's coming back into her life. He was a professional sports player,
Yeah,
baseball player, who, just when he had the opportunity and his career was going to take off, kind of said, sayonara, and, went off to do his career and left her, high and dry with the baby and this business. So it's going to be, does she give him redemption, or does she go with Rick, who is really just totally in love with her and her little girl, which is an important thing too, because, whoever gets Jerry, it gets an instant family, really, because he
yeah.
has a child
Rick
already.
deserves deserves
I agree. I agree.
I cheered on for Rick. I was like, dude, why is she taking so long to see him?
I know. Well, that's part of it,
So
is
there's
that,
some kind of, you know,
yeah,
hesitation.
burn once, if you get burned once, you kind of are, leery about entering into a relationship again. But
Yeah.
that's going to be going off to them shortly. But yeah, no, I do. I wrote the
I
whole.
honestly thought that Jerry was an abuse victim the way she was written. Like I know it wasn't explicitly stated, but I
Yeah.
thought that like the way Sarah was talking about how she was messed up or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It was more that, she
Or was
was
it her
abandoned.
sister who was that one?
It was Bridget who was the one
Okay.
who,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
But no, that's okay. So Bridget's
See,
story is.
I'm so invested in your characters. I don't.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, Bridget is hopefully the third story, but I do write for Harlequin. I do romantic suspense for them, and Trapping the Terrorist there is actually out right now. It came out September 28th. And I'm trying not to let it get lost in the shuffle because of all the movie things, it's a little difficult. But I have my first women's fiction book coming out in February. I think you mentioned like writing a memoir, right? You're based on your life. And the title of that book is The Family She Never Met. And it's all about 3 women who are kind of estranged. But a lot of the historical stories there, the flashback stories, are actually real stories of my family's journey to the United States, and what happened to us in Cuba when we left Cuba, and what happened here. And I think it's a very uplifting story about the promise of family, but also the promise that this country has given to so many people. And for years I tried to write that story as a memoir, and it was just too emotional. But putting it in a fictional story with fictional characters telling it just made it a lot easier. I found myself picking the important parts of the stories of what had happened to us, and mixing them into this other story about these three women. It's a daughter, a mother, and a grandmother. So I'm really excited for that one, and to see what people will think about it. And then I also have another, at least 4 books for Harlequin Intrigue, romantic suspenses. So I'm busy. It's keeping me busy.
How many books do you have happening at the same time? I would feel like I can't. How do you organize what?
Well,
what goes on with what book? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, no, like I just told you, I forgot what the Christmas book was about. Actually, I remember now. It's a multi-generational book. It's a story about a woman who comes back for Christmas for a friend's wedding, and realizes that her uncle, who's been like a second father, is going to close his medical practice. And she's a doctor, but she's a big city doctor,
Yeah.
Small towns, poo-poo. But that was, see, but I forgot. I usually am working on 2 or 3 books proposals, things to send out to people for possible acquisition.
Yeah.
And then actively writing 1 or 2 books at a time, whether it's actually writing them or preparing an outline for them. And then, usually thinking about, I have to do, you have to do marketing, all kinds of things like that on a regular basis. The publishers do some, but you have to think about it. And I do have independent releases. I have books where I've gotten the rights back to them, and so I'm trying to mix in those releases as well into my publishing schedule. So it's lately it's been very busy. I have, so which is a good thing. I'm not complaining.
If you weren't a writer, what would you be doing?
Well, I was an attorney for a very long time. I just actually retired in 2019.
Wow.
At the end of 2019.
What kind of attorney?
I was an intellectual property attorney, patents, trademarks, and copyrights.
And stuff.
Yeah, and some publishing law. I retired to write full time. I figured I'd paid my dues, and I'd always wanted to write full time. So that's what I'm doing. This is my dream. And I'm enjoying it. My husband and I downsized, and that was tough because I had to get rid of a lot of books. I was sad to give away. I only kept a few of my very favorite books. But I'm writing full time, and that keeps me very busy because it's, writing things that I'm contracted for, re-releasing things, preparing things to try to sell. So it's a constant turnaround of stuff.
Yeah. Do you are you a fan of are you more a fan of ebooks or paper books? Because I am a fan of paper.
I'm a fan. I like paper. Like if I'm going to the beach, I want a book and I want to crack the spine and sit there and read it. Yeah.
I want to smell paper.
Yeah. No. I do almost all of my reading with paperbacks or hardcover. There are some people who I will buy in hardcover because I love them that much. And I do read on my e-reader, but only if I'm traveling. And even then, I'll still have a paperback, but in case I finish, or you know what I'm saying, or if I'm on the train and I have nothing to do, I'll do the e-reader.
Yeah.
But I really prefer print books.
Same here.
Yeah.
I have, I'm guilty of actually having both the ebook copy and the paper copy. My mom's like, you already have this on your phone. I'm like, yeah, but I actually want the book.
The book. Yeah, I get it. I get it. And sometimes like if you get a book autographed, like I'll get books autographed by, like a Nora Roberts or something like that. And and I'll keep them because, if they're autographed to me, they're a little bit more special. And so, but I have limited space, so I'm very selective in what I keep now.
Well, that's why you have the e-reader. You can buy all of that on the e-reader.
Yeah. Well, I did see, I go to conferences where, people have the covers of their e-readers and they ask you to sign the covers, so.
How do you sign the covers of an e-reader?
Well, they have like softback covers on the e-reader.
Oh.
Like, on like a tablet cover.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they'll ask you to sign either the inside or the outside with a Sharpie or whatever.
So it's like okay.
Yeah, no,
like it was like the cover of the actual ebook or
no, I guess what would you call it? The protective little sleeve or whatever you call that.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for letting me talk to you. I had so much fun and I'm excited to watch the movie.